All right, so today we have one of the top rainmakers in the AA program, and you guys definitely want to make sure that you stay tuned so you can learn how you can make 75K in a month. All right, so today we are blessed to have one of my favorite people that is definitely turning into a friend of mine. I've seen his progression, and I've just learned so much from watching him. And he is somebody who leads by action and focus, and that is none other than the illustrious Todd Hausberger. Todd, man, welcome to the call. Thanks so much for being on.
Oh man, hey, thank you. It's an honor to be on this call with you.
For sure, for sure. Well, let's kind of hop right in, man. I know we always do this, but let's start with the backstory. Give us the 60-second snapshot, because I know you've been in the business for 20 plus. So
Yeah,
let's talk about how you even got started in this business.
yeah, man. I got my license in 2003. So yeah, 20 years ago is when I got licensed, and then for the first 17 out of those 20 years, for the most part, I spent it in the supplemental health insurance industry. So like cancer policies and stuff like that, and we knocked on doors, man. So no leads, low comp, and yeah, we used to kind of joke that we were the Navy SEALs of the insurance industry because not many people could do what we did. So
Yeah, and that's interesting because I also started out the same way. Like I was telling someone the other day that I started in supplemental, and I told this story at the event when Cody,
yeah,
John Wetmore, and Alex Branding was there. Was I drove down to take the take the insurance test, and I failed the health part, so I could only sell life insurance at a supplemental company. And
yeah,
ironically, you were like, "Well, the health part's the easiest part to take." I don't know how Arturo felt that part, and but that's kind of seems like that was kind of what was meant to be, because the only thing I could do was learn about the life insurance part, and I also did the same thing. I used to go to the library and go get on Reference USA because it was free at the library. And I would
yep,
print out, I would look up these industrial businesses in my area that had 50 to 100 employees that was making a minimum of $1 million to $2 million in revenue. And then I would just canvas these businesses in local areas. And that's kind of how I got started. And again, that Navy SEALs thing is pretty funny. But I'm curious on, because most people discount that part of their journey, and because they're now not doing that. What were some of the things that you kind of learned from that you've been able to apply to what you're doing right now?
well, man, when you're knocking on doors selling cancer policies on low comp, um, you you can't you can't do it part time, and also you can't be out there grinding it because when you're working with a company that has you on such low comp, like you can't have a bad week. You could barely even have bad days to be able to keep your head above water and stuff. So I mean, what you would mainly, see is a lot of people that would make it in that industry. You had to be the top, 8%, 5%, even almost top 1% to be able to make it past, your first 6 months to a year, until you got up to a little bit of a higher compensation level. But then, even then, even when you got up higher to the crazy low comp they started you off on, I mean, it was still difficult um, um, to make it if you weren't producing at a high level.
Yeah, for sure. And were you able to make that model work?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did it for 17 years, right?
Mm.
And I was definitely, I think when I left, I think it was top 15 of all time
Wow.
in the 30 plus years of that company being around.
Mm.
So definitely, achieved at a high level there, but still was living paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the
still trying to
difference. Yeah, that's the tough part, is that you're doing it and you're getting the recognition outwardly, but inwardly you're just still treading water, still kind of paying the bills. And barely paying the bills. And I think that a lot of agents still, with some of the ones we work with, they're getting that recognition and that accolade, but when we look at the numbers, their businesses aren't profitable, and they kind of start taking the social recognition as income. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
man, you need to have a profitable business. And that's one of the goals for AJC, is we're trying to help agents to have consistency in their expenses so that they can have a true profitable business like yours,
Yep.
and be able to, like, hit those numbers and be proud of them, looking at the bank account and looking at the leaderboards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So doing that grind, that probably gave you some discipline and some focus, but also you learned how to get really good at communicating with people. So transition into where you are now, which is just a phenomenal growth vehicle to be in if you want to get around high achieving and performers, seeing some people who think big, some people who are aggressive, just from all walks of life, all nationalities and backgrounds. Going to the convention in February changed my perception of everything. And I was
Yeah.
just like, wow, there's a bunch of amazing people all together, and I can see why that organization functions so well. So what was the first thing that you realized that you can hang your hat on to apply, that you're like, okay, this is going to help me get to that next level financially?
Um, are you talking about like why I made the transition over?
Yeah.
So I mean, well, that's just simple math, right? I'm no mathematician or rocket scientist, but at the other company that I was at, you peaked out. If you made it to the very, very, very top, 80% was the highest compensation that you could get without leads, knocking on doors, selling cancer insurance.
Mm.
And where we're at now, the top comp, to where you can get is 140, percent. So I mean, again, it doesn't take a genius to be able to figure that out. Like I'm knocking on doors, selling a product with lower compensation, and then I can work off of leads. So work smarter instead of harder, be more effective and efficient with my time, still being doing sales in the insurance industry, but be able to make a lot more money off the sales that I was making. So
Yeah, awesome. So transition over here, you get a higher comp, but you still do something that most people, I think it's like what the 1% of the 1% in your agency and your IMO is doing, is you hit a Hall of Fame, right? Which is, you happen to go to the dinner and be around even higher level life insurance agents and get to hear Dave Anderson speak,
yeah.
and you did that door knocking as well. So tell me how you were able to do that.
What do you mean I did that door knocking as well?
You hit Hall of Fame, right?
You talking about with my last company or?
With this one right here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't do it wasn't door knocking. It was working off of leads and stuff like that. Are you talking about like in home versus telesales?
Yes.
Gotcha. So yes, 2 years ago, I hit Hall of Fame. Um, in home sales, and then this past year, the last 6 months, um, I did telesales. So I made the transition from in home to telesales, and then I hit Hall of Fame again my second year. But I wouldn't have hit Hall of Fame if it wasn't for your program. I mean, there's just no way to sugarcoat it. I was 100,000 behind it coming up on in November, and so I hit 110,000, I think, November and December to be able to put me over the top and hit Hall of Fame last year. So
Yeah. And that's amazing, man. That's a cool story because, you didn't think you were going to hit it. And I don't even think you were like even focused on it. Like you got a message or a call or something. I remember you telling me about that when we were in Miami, right?
yeah,
So what was that like? Because it was a surprise to actually hit it again and be able to go. Was that pretty cool?
yeah, man, it was crazy because I've got you know a business that I get paid into. Then I've also a personal that I get paid into. So when we were looking at our IP numbers, there was two separate numbers. They weren't coming together. So at the very end, kind of almost after the fact, is corporate looked at it and they're like, oh no, wait, he did hit Hall of Fame. I thought I was 50,000 shy, and in this other account, of issue paid numbers was 60,000. So you
Yeah.
stack that on top of the 350, and it ended up with like 410. So it was definitely a pleasant surprise. I did a lot better than I thought I did. So
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So let's talk about that. How did you even come across me or AJC? How did that whole thing happen?
I had a couple of folks um, that work within, the main agency that I work with, and they were currently doing better than I was in telesales. And they were even actually doing better than I was, in telesales that I was doing actually out in the field and stuff like that. And I had hit bigger numbers than them the year before. So I was like, well, what are these guys doing, to be able to like surpass me, my competitive nature kind of kicked in. And then I heard about another guy who had hit Hall of Fame the year before, bellying it up at people's kitchen tables, infield, in-home sales, and he was absolutely crushing it. So that was really what kind of piqued my interest, and was like, okay, if this guy can do it, that did it the exact same way that I did it the year before, and now he's just hitting like, I mean, ludicrous numbers, right? Just like, double and triple what he was doing the year before in a month, and being able to hit Hall of Fame in literally half the time. I was like, this is something that I gotta check out. I'm
Yeah.
one of those people that I've got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, 100%.
It was
And
good seeing those other guys doing well, but but to see that the other guy that also had hit Hall of Fame, that was really the proof, that
yeah,
I needed to kind
yeah,
of push.
and I think that was the catalyst too, is because I can remember Kevin Alexander. I was doing something and I pulled over and I called him from my car and I was like, hey man, if you've already done this and if what you're telling me is how you're doing it, if we partner together, I can guarantee you can hit it doing half the work you were doing and half the time that you were doing. And he's like, well, all right, I'm in. And so from there, that was the catalyst to change our group to get to attract people just like you. And now you've become that leader for our group, which I was just telling you about, which is pretty cool. So let's talk about the couple myths that people have. Like the first myth is that people are saying, and I just want to know what your experience is that it's impossible to do telesales and use Facebook leads because your persistency is going to go way down. So what's been your experience with that?
So I can see um, where people can either have that experience or at least have that idea that that's the way it is. And you know, I I think that might be true with some leads that are a little bit lower intention.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the internet leads that are out there, where mainly my experience with a lot of the different, and I've used a ton of different internet leads, but my experience with using a lot of different internet leads is it typically pulls in lower income folks. Not always, but typically pulls in a lot lower income folks. And so the intention on them is already a lot lower than higher intention leads. So it's already difficult if you're calling on somebody in Section 8 housing. It's difficult for them to even, to want to afford it, but then also to trust you, believe in you, to be able to, become clients. But then it's even difficult for them to even stay on the books. So it just raises that degree when you're trying to do that over the phone with that type of clientele.
Yeah.
So what I like about the program that we have here is the intention of the leads are much higher. The income is much higher. I think in 10 months, I think I've talked to maybe less than five um, um, clients that are in that really, really lower income area, that have that direct express debit card that the government gives for folks to get their Social Security paid onto,
Mm-hmm.
which basically a lot of times means that they're not responsible enough, not always, but not responsible enough to actually hold a real bank account. So the government has to give you a bank account because you're not responsible enough to actually have a real bank account. So
Yeah.
less than five in 10 months, Whereas the other, with the internet leads that I used to work in the past, I mean, I'd say, man, 80% or more. That might be high, maybe 70% or more. It seemed like, that had that direct express card. You
Yeah,
know, so
for
it's just a
sure.
lot lower intention on the leads and
Yeah,
stuff.
and that makes a huge difference when
Huge.
it's sometimes it's the mindset of the people that you're talking to, and
Yeah.
so a lot of times my mentor would say, if you don't like your business, change your customers, right? So it's a simple way to do that. And so if you're having trouble with this process over here, sometimes you just need to change who you're speaking to
Yeah.
and trying to help. And there's 7 billion people on the planet, so that's not really that difficult to do. You just need the right system.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what was your highest issue paid month when you were doing in home.
In home was 59,000.
Awesome. And then obviously your best month was this past month.
Yeah.
What was that again?
I've actually had two of my best months. So
Two. Okay.
December, I broke my previous record, and I did 66,000. And then this past month, in March, I did 70,000.
Wow, that's impressive. What's that like, man? To just say that. I know you're a humble guy, and it's like, all right, you knew you can do it, but it's like, what's that like to now have a system where you're like, okay, I can hit all time highs. In December you hit all time high, and
Yeah.
then follow that up just a few months. And I think we had the event too, which is crazy, right? Where you took the last weekend off to go
Yeah.
somewhere. So that's cool. But what's that like to even be able to put up those numbers from your home?
Well, that was the one of the that's what drew me to the telesales, right? I saw most, and again, not all, most people that were doing 70,000, 100,000 plus in a month. Most of them were doing telesales, and logistically, it just made sense, right? Like I can see more people, I can talk to more people, I can present to more people. I no longer have, an hour drive time to get to this appointment. And if they say no, or if they stand me up, then I got to drive another hour to this appointment. If they say no or stand me up, and then I got to drive, 30 minutes to get to this point. I mean, there's so much time wasted, so much inefficiency when it comes to in-home sales, that logistically, again, I just saw, okay, like if I can talk to more people in a day, then I can sell more. Um, but I don't think what I fully grasped was I work less days, less hours, and make more money now. Um, so it's just that part I didn't see, because if I was still working the same hours that I was working and the same amount of days that I was working before, I mean, I can't see why I wouldn't hit over 100,000 in a month. But I wanted to have a little bit more work-life balance. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family. I didn't want to work until 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, um, just the yes, you can do that. Whatever you put your mind to. Of course. I mean, and I did it in home for over a year. But I just didn't want to do it anymore. And once I saw this vehicle and saw an opportunity that I could cut down on my hours and actually make more money, and just be more effective and efficient with my time, I mean, I was all in.
Yeah, for sure. And then that last piece is like, um, agents kind of get sold on this process too, where you're like on vacation, but you're still working, right? Or you kind of
Yeah,
proud of it's like you're not really fully or like 100% working. You're not fully 100% on vacation. You're kind of in this middle ground, which
yeah,
again leads to a lot of burnout too and fatigue. What you don't realize is because you're not really taking some time off from the business to kind of enjoy life, and you're working and you're doing some good work, but you need that downtime. You need to have that separation. I know Yetter talked about it, that flexibility of like when I'm in the office, I'm working, and then when I'm done. I'm done, and now I have this boundary. So now you have that switch to kind of set on, and it just gives you flexibility. If you want to work the other way, you can do that, but also you can do that here. But one of
yeah,
the things I want to talk about, which is cool, is how crazy the numbers are, because people hear the 75, but I like to hear like what numbers went into that. Like how many appointments are you averaging a day? how you have your calendar structured to be able to pull that off. And then my favorite part is the show rate, right? Because most people are like, how many show? And I want to be transparent about that part too, because we found this out at the event when John Wetmore was there. But talking
Yeah.
about what the show rate is, so people can understand that at the end of the day, it's the output. Like most people are like, what's your lead to conversion and your appointment conversion? ROI is the most important number, and if you can get that one right, you can really scale your business. So let's talk through some of what your numbers look like on average a week.
Yeah. So when I first started off, I was keeping, a similar schedule to when I ran out in the field. So I was doing from Monday through Friday, from about 9 a.m. till till about 8 p.m. On Saturday, I was working about 8 hours, I think from like 10 to 5 or something like that. So then I was, as I started to kind of get better and become more effective and efficient, I cut out Saturday. And then as it became more effective and efficient, the schedule that I have now is I work Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then on Friday from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. And what I like about that is I'm able to condense it. I was noticing with the with having that schedule that I was having a lot of downtime, and I don't like to have a lot of downtime. Like I like to be on the phone from 9 o'clock until 6 p.m. You know, getting up and doing stuff while I'm still talking to clients and stuff. Just one after another, boom, 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 boom. So then it doesn't allow my mind to like kind of have any downtime, so I could just kind of stay on point the entire time. And with having done that, it's helped me to be even more effective, more efficient, but also to be able to spend time with my family. So the kind of the schedule or the numbers that I came up with, what you were referencing with John Wetmore and them coming from the conference and stuff, to be able to hit it with this platform, to be able to issue 40,000 in a month, protect 40 families in a month in telesales, need to have about 100 appointments scheduled. About 40 of them will show. So this is using a very, very conservative number. So 60% no-show rate. So 40% show, 15 full presentations where you actually go all the way to get the social security number and stuff like that, or get to that point of getting the social security number, and then 10 closed presentations. So if you do that within within a week and stuff, then that is going to help you get to that 40,000 issue paid numbers.
Yeah. And the reason why I brought that up is because I want any agent that's watching this that's kind of skeptical on the fence, I want you to understand that like once you know the numbers, you can really influence the game a little bit. When you
Yep.
know exactly how much you're spending every single month, your expenses are fixed, and
Yep.
then you know exactly what your success ratio being 10%, that you can still hit your Hall of Fame goals, right? Now you have this predictable thing. You just need to get to work, right? Because
Yeah.
then now it's like, I just need to make sure I have this number available, right? And obviously be good at closing, but, through all of that, people kind of falling through the attrition, that even with the 10% conversion of that, you can still hit your numbers,
Yeah.
which is a huge part, because Derek said it at the event. It's like he didn't know how much he was spending every single month, and I feel like
Yeah.
most agents don't either. You got
Yeah.
$500 that you're dropping over here for this new vendor that somebody told you needed to see. You may have your card on file for some mailers that whenever it comes out, a load's coming out of your account, and until you
Yeah.
get somebody else right referred in, you're still on the hook for that. And then if you have some live transfers, right, like $100, whether you show up to the appointment or not, is getting drafted. So you don't know exactly how much you're spending every single month. And it's really hard to gauge how profitable you are if you don't know what your fixed costs are. So has
Yeah.
that been able to help you with your
Oh
business?
yeah. Yeah, I had I think two or three, I think three um, mailer companies I was using. I was, buying up a ton of CRM leads whenever, coupon or discount was kind of posted and stuff. buying multiple types of CRM leads, and yeah, you just don't know. I was in some months I'm sure I was spending more, and in some months I was spending less than what I'm spending here. But just knowing what your expense is every single month, it just adds to that effectiveness and efficiency in being able to run a much more profitable business. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the last questions, I can't even remember what it is, but I was gonna ask what I was gonna say. So with your business now, right? How soon do you think you're on track to hit Hall of Fame this year?
this year, looking at the numbers that I'm at right now, I'm sitting at about 150 families protected um, through the second week of April. So I should be there by probably July. By the end of July, I should hit Hall of Fame. So
So you
if
can
everything,
almost hit it in half the time, which is always cool to say I can hit it in 6 months. So
yeah,
we're gonna push it hard for you because I know once you get close, our whole team's gonna be like, all right, Todd, what's the numbers, bro?
yeah,
We need to get you close. Well, man, I can say that there were a few people that I was very happy to work with because you guys have been in the business a minute and just the type of individual where, you're all about the numbers and I wanted to prove myself and earn you guys business, which was pretty cool. And it
yeah,
was Schiavo, it was you and Yetter.
yeah,
And for you three guys to come to our event and say, man, I actually got some value from that. It's definitely was a badge of honor for me. And I can 100% say that I have grown to love you as a client. And I'm also growing to love you as a friend,
yeah.
somebody who is hardworking, very professional, and just a great silent leader by action. I'm definitely learning to lead more by actions from you, man. And it's just been a pleasure just being around you for sure, brother.
Yeah, man, it's been a great partnership and also a great growing friendship as well, man. So I've never been happier in my business life and in my personal life with just the balance that I feel like I have. And again, I got to tip my hat a lot of it to just our relationship, professionally and then also personally, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I got the last question. Most people are like, all right, so he did all of that. What other lead sources or what other things are you doing? Because some guys are kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Are you using any other sources besides the program?
No, once I bumped up my investment um, to basically where I was investing as much in your program as I was in the other lead sources, then I dropped everything. So I cut out the mailers and the CRM leads. I've only been using your system and your leads. Well, I mean, probably actually, I know for 8 out of the 10 months. So I haven't used any other lead in the past 8 months. So like, no one can say like, well, he was still using this lead. That's why he had his first best month ever, or why he had his second best month ever because he had some other little secret thing going on. No, it was 100% your program and your leads is what helped me have my beat my best month ever and then beat that again. So
Awesome. Well, Todd, man, thank you so much for spending this time with
thank
you. I
you,
know you
man.
probably got a boatload of appointments to get to, so we want to get this one done early. And
Yeah,
we're
man.
going to be rooting for you to get to Hall of Fame in 6 months, man. Thanks for hopping on.
All right, brother.
All right. Peace.